This being your third season, it seems like you've been a lot more assertive or spicy this year.
Spicy? So? I don't know. Spicy. That's good. I mean, I feel like for me, it's just my approach. It's just coming in and just trying to be dominant in anything the team needs. And so if that gives off spicy, which I really don't think it does, I feel like I'm like kind of quiet. Spice? No, I just know it's spicy. Yeah. But yeah, I feel like that's just been my mindset, is just coming in and just being the player that I need to be for us. Whatever that looks like, it looks like.
What ties together a locker room mantra, a bruising blowout, and a playoff berth? For the Indiana Fever, the answer is everything. Their 94-65 rout of the Washington Mystics wasn't just another win. It was equal parts survival and defiance. And at the center of it, Aliyah Boston delivered a statement that has teammates buzzing and fans desperate to know more. What did she say? And why has it become the mindset fueling Indiana's playoff push without Caitlin Clark and 4 other injured players? Stick around, because this story goes deeper than basketball. If you're fired up for the playoffs, drop a Fever playoffs in the comments. Let's go.
Playoffs! Dub!
That's how we clinch, baby!
We can't! W. Playoffs!
Bow!
Yeah! Playoffs, baby!
Mitchell in transition. Lays that up and in for our first bucket of the game. Well, that's Sims off the cross again into the paint, lays it up and in.
How does a playoff team lose half its rotation and still stay afloat? That's been the Indiana Fever's reality all season. Their roster wasn't just dinged up, it was gutted. Caitlin Clark, the sophomore phenomenon that carried them into a new era, lasted only 13 games before a torn groin shut her down. Sophie Cunningham, out with a knee injury. Chloe BBY, same. Sydney Carlson, sideline. Ari McDonald, done with a foot injury. That's 5 core contributors wiped out. For most teams, that kind of attrition spells collapse. For Indiana, it became the ultimate test.
When you think back to the beginning of the season, if someone were to tell you, like, this is where you would be, this is your team, like, at the end of the season, like, genuinely, what do you think the reaction would be?
Probably no stinking way. I don't think, thinking back to the beginning of the season, that anyone would have ever foreseen it going like this.
Clark's injury landed the hardest hit. She was averaging over 16 points while orchestrating the offense in a way that had Fever fans convinced the postseason wasn't just a hope, it was the expectation. So when the news dropped that her season was officially done, the shockwaves weren't limited to Indiana. They spread across the entire basketball world. The fans who've been filling Gamebridge Fieldhouse suddenly wonder how this team could survive without its brightest star, while analysts wasted no time predicting that Indiana's playoff push had just flatlined.
Even if things looked like it got harder, for us it was about sticking together, and I think through everything you're able to see that, us play with joy, us play together regardless of who's on that floor.
And it wasn't just Clark's absence that defined the season. Indiana's roster turned into a revolving door, with hardship signings making the team look more like a moving train than a steady unit. 18 different players have worn the Fever jersey this year. Picture taking a team photo in training camp, only to realize halfway through the season that nearly every face has changed. Odyssey Sims flew in. She petty carved out minutes, and Aerial Powers found her footing. It wasn't a polished strategy. It was pure survival. And survival almost never translates into a playoff run.
For whatever reason, things happen, and you've got to continue to put your best foot forward. You got to continue to stay the course. This group has been forced to grow strong roots, and teams can go one of two ways when those things happen. You either use it to pull you together and as motivation to continue to get better and do it for one another and do it for your teammates that have been lost to injury, or it pulls some teams apart.
That's where Stephanie White proved why her voice mattered most. With the roster gutted, she didn't overreact. She adjusted. She cut down the playbook, tightened rotations, and drilled her team on fundamentals. White even acknowledged that the staff had to get creative just to squeeze value out of what was left. But instead of pretending the adversity wasn't real, she embraced it, framing it as proof of the group's toughness. That message landed, and the players responded by matching her mindset.
When I look at this group, I'm just so incredibly thankful for the type of people that we have in this locker room, for the way that they have been able to continue to stay the course and bounce back and stay together, to pull for one another, to really be flexible enough to make space for different types of teams that we've had throughout the course of the year, and to continue to put ourselves in position.
By August, the narrative shifted from doubt to resilience. What looked like the team's downfall turned into its greatest strength. Without a superstar to carry them, every player learned to take on more responsibility. That next woman up mantra stopped being just survival. It became their DNA. And when they brought that mindset to Washington, all the toughness forged through months of adversity finally erupted into outright dominance.
Inside Howard, off the window, the bucket, and the foul. Petty three, knocks it down again. Lost the handle, gets it back, gets right to the hoop, and she drops it home.
Fever 94, Mystics 65. Indiana's in. And now you know, despite all the adversity, this incredibly resilient Fever team is going back to the playoffs in 2025.
How do you turn heartbreak into a 29-point statement? The Indiana Fever answered that question on the road against the Washington Mystics, delivering a win so dominant it felt more like a warning shot to the rest of the league than just another game. This wasn't an ordinary victory. It was the one that locked in a playoff berth and proved Indiana has more than one engine driving them forward, even without Caitlin Clark. Early on, though, it didn't look like a blowout. Washington came out swinging, forcing tough shots and trading baskets to keep the pressure on. Indiana's offense sputtered in stretches, and the tension was real. With Clark, Cunningham, McDonald, BBY, and Carlson all sidelined, the question lingered. Could the Fever withstand the surge? Or was this about to be another night that slipped away?
And more than anything, y'all, big picture-wise, this group, there would have been so many teams that would have folded with all we've been through. And we just kept getting better. And we kept getting tougher. And we kept becoming more resilient. And we kept figuring things out, right? Like, we've had like 7 new teams throughout the course of this season. and no matter what, we've been flexible. We've been accountable. We've put each other in positions to be successful, and we've continued to put one foot forward and stay the course.
By halftime, it was still a battle, but everything flipped once the third quarter started. That's when Indiana turned the game into a clinic. The Fever didn't just slow Washington down, they shut them down. The Mystics scored only 9 points in the entire quarter. 9. That wasn't a simple cold stretch. It was suffocating defense at work. Passing lanes vanished. Every shot was contested, and the momentum swung hard. From that moment on, Indiana looked like the team with all the hunger. The lead exploded past 20, then 25, and at one point ballooned to 33 as the Fever completely broke Washington's will.
You just don't know what she's going to do. I mean, she's so crafty with her shot decisions. Howard right to the hoop, high out the window. She's slicing through that paint. Thanks for back tapped it. It ends up with aerial power. Inside Howard, off the window, the bucket, and the foul by the rookie all-star Sonia Citron. Howard quickly back to the waistline, back at 34.
The box score painted part of the picture, but Natasha Howard filled in the rest. She was relentless, delivering a game-high 17 points and making Washington pay every time she touched the ball near the rim. When the Fever needed a steady hand and a spark, she gave them both, turning her aggression into the fuel that kept Indiana rolling.
Proud. I feel proud of these women and what they've been able to continue to do. I feel proud that we continue to raise the standard for ourselves and for one another. But I'm also, I look at this group and the roots that have been grown throughout the course of this season, and thinking about, not just where we are now and the opportunity that we have in the playoffs, but where we're going to be in the future.
Over the course of the season, 18 different players wore a Fever jersey, and that constant shuffle created a roster built to adapt. Lexi Hull and Shea Petty stepped into bigger roles than anyone predicted, while Natasha Howard and Aerial Powers brought steady veteran presence. Kelsey Mitchell and Aliyah Boston didn't just play. They grew into leaders with playoff experience as top options. In a strange way, Caitlin Clark's absence gave her teammates a chance to expand. And when she returns in 2026, she'll rejoin a locker room that already carries championship DNA. What was supposed to break Indiana instead made them tougher. Stripped down by injuries, they found grit, depth, and belief. For the first time since 2015, they're back in the playoffs with a winning record. Proving their identity forged under pressure is no fluke. This isn't just survival. It's the start of a new chapter. The momentum is real. The foundation is stronger than ever. And the only question left is simple. If this is what they can do shorthanded, what happens when they're whole again? If you're fired up for the playoffs, drop Fever Playoffs in the comments, hit like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss a moment. Click the video on the screen, and we'll see you in the next.